Hi everyone, and welcome to our third installment of RedHens Writing Advice. Today I want to talk to you about a couple different things. The first is finding or making time to write, and the second is maximizing your writing time. Now, I see a big difference between finding time to write and making time to write. When we find time to write, we're basically just fitting it into our schedule wherever we have space. But when we make time to write, we're making our writing a priority. We're setting aside a specific block of time where we know that we can focus on our work. Personally speaking, if I don't make time to write, I don't get any writing done. As I've mentioned before, I recently started work on the first draft of my very first novel, but I haven't touched it in a few months simply because I haven't set aside a specific time to work on it. I know that what I need to do is get out of bed at least an hour earlier and sneak into my writing space and work while everyone else is still asleep. If I do that, then it doesn't matter what else happens during the day. I'll know at least get my 1 hour of writing in. Then, if I can find extra time to write, like during my kids' nap or when I'm hauling one or the other to one of their activities, it's like the icing on the cake. Now, you're going to have to figure out what works best for you. If you're not a morning person but are more of a night owl, maybe you find a few hours to write in the evenings. If you work a full-time job but you get an hour-long lunch break, maybe that becomes your writing time. It doesn't really matter where you fit it in. The most important thing, I think, is to have a regularly scheduled writing time where you know that as soon as your butt hits the seat and your fingers are on the keyboard, you're ready to get to work. Now, the second thing I want to talk to you about in this video is how to maximize your writing time once you've got that established. This is a little bit trickier. There are a lot of people who feel they can only write when they're inspired, but I completely disagree with that because if I waited until I was inspired, again, I would never get any writing done. Writing can be work, and sometimes you have to treat it like work, which means whether the time is right or not, or whether you feel inspired or not, you just need to sit down and do it. A couple of things that can help, though, are to create space for your writing. And by this, I'm talking about physical space and mental space. Now, let's talk about your physical writing space. It doesn't have to be big or fancy. Stephen King wrote his first two novels, Carrie and Salem's Lot, in the laundry room of a double-wide trailer. If he can do that, you can write wherever you are. I do the majority of my writing in the corner of our spare bedroom. Basically, all you really need is a desk to set your laptop or your notebooks or whatever you have on, and a door that you can shut to block out the rest of the world. I also like to keep a few extras in my writing space. As you can see in the back here, I've got some pictures of my kids, a plant. I like to keep a few little rocks and things that I can play with while I'm thinking. Just things that make you happy, because your writing space should be a place that you feel good when you walk into. It should also be a place that signals to your brain that it's now time to get down to work. As I said, sometimes I write in my vehicle sitting outside of my daughter's dance class. Sometimes I like to write outside on the deck when the day is nice and, enjoy a glass of wine or a hot cup of coffee. But when I come into my writing space, this little nook that I've carved out in our spare bedroom, I know that it's time to do some serious writing. Which brings me to the second part of how to make space to write. How to make mental space. Now, as I said before, writing is work. Sometimes you just have to get your butt in the seat and you have to do it. It doesn't matter if what you put down is garbage. You just have to make yourself write something. And if you keep doing that, eventually the good writing will come. The inspiration will find you. Now, Elizabeth Gilbert discusses this best in her book, Big Magic. But basically what she says is that if we're at our desk and we're doing the work day after day, then the magic or the inspiration or whatever we want to call it will find us, and we'll be ready when it does. Now, there are times where, you might find yourself sitting at your desk, staring at your screen, and just nothing is coming to you. And for me, what I find works best in these situations is to just give myself some space and step away. I like to try and do something that's maybe a little bit more physically demanding, but gives my brain a break. Something like, exercise, going for a walk, working out in my garden. I find that by doing this and giving my mind space to wander and, allowing some of my ideas to percolate, Then when I come back to my desk, I'm ready to work. I find that by doing this and giving my mind some space to wander and allowing my ideas to percolate, by the time I come back to my desk and am ready to write again, I've got a better idea of what direction I want to go or what I want to say. Again, there's a lot of different ideas that writers will offer on how they get over writer's block, but that's something that's always worked for me. If there are other things that have worked for you, please feel free to share them in the comments. So just to wrap up what we've talked about today, it's important to not only find time to write, but to intentionally make time to write. It's important to have a space that you can go to where you know that you'll have some privacy, some quiet, whatever you need to get your creative juices flowing. And it's also important to give yourself and your mind some space so that those ideas can come to you. So I hope you found some value in this video. Please feel free to share your comments on how you make time to write, what your writing space is like, and what you do when you're waiting for inspiration to come. Thanks for watching, and until next time, steam on.